The ACLU of Wisconsin recently released a report called The Jail to Deportation Pipeline in Wisconsin. The report details the different ways local law enforcement in Wisconsin works with federal immigration authorities and how local law enforcement is paid for this cooperation. Tim Muth is a senior staff attorney for the ACLU of Wisconsin and the primary author of the report. He joins Lake Effect Sam Woods to share what they found.
Can you talk about your research methods, how you got this data and made sense of it?
Yeah, this is actually the third in a series of reports that we have done. The first was during the first Trump administration, and each time it's been based on open records requests to county sheriffs and their jails across the state of Wisconsin. We've done reports in 2018, 2022, and then this report we issued a couple of weeks ago is our third, all about this jail to deportation pipeline, as we call it.
So let's start with the formal agreements for cooperation with ICE that make up this jail to deportation pipeline, as you call it. And we'll start with the 287G agreement. Can you explain what a 287G agreement is?
Sure. It's called 287G because that's the section of the federal immigration statutes that authorizes these kinds of agreements between ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and a local law enforcement agency. And essentially, they are delegating or almost like deputizing local law enforcement to perform certain specified functions that would normally be performed by an ICE agent. And they take all sorts of different forms. The ones in Wisconsin are generally quite limited in terms of the number of functions that are being delegated to local law enforcement. But in other parts of the country, they're actually deputizing local law enforcement to go out and make arrests, to pull people over on the street and take them right into immigration detention. But here in Wisconsin, they are fairly limited in terms of a set of small functions that ICE is delegating to local county sheriffs.
Am I understanding correctly that Waukesha County is the only county in Wisconsin that will make arrests on behalf of ICE?
Waukesha County has the ability to do investigations inside the jail. So it's for people who have already been arrested for some state or county offense and are in the Waukesha County jail. They are able to investigate somebody's immigration status and to actually commence a removal proceeding, a deportation case against them if they find that they do not have legal status in the country. But it's only inside the jail that they have that extra authority.
Gotcha. And the difference between what Waukesha County can do through the 287G agreement and other counties, the other 12 counties that have 287G agreements, is that Waukesha can do their own kind of interrogation, whereas these other counties have to get orders from ICE to say, hey, this particular person we're interested in.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. In the other counties, basically what they are doing is, on behalf of ICE, serving warrants or detainers, and we'll talk a little bit more about what those words mean, but on behalf of ICE, they're serving those legal papers on the people that ICE asks them to serve.
Yeah. And I do want to ask about detainers in a second, but can you talk about how this program, the 287G program, has grown over time in Wisconsin?
Originally, Waukesha County was the only county that had the agreement. They entered into one, I believe, in 2017 or 2018. And then a number of other counties signed up. 6 more counties signed up in 2020. And actually little happened under those agreements, partly because of the change of administration in 2021. But then this year, with the second Trump administration, we saw 6 more sheriffs sign up. before we issued our report, and actually a couple of days ago, another county, Calumet County, signed a 287G agreement, making the total 14 counties that have these agreements in the state of Wisconsin.
Is the sheriff of a county usually the one saying, hey, we want to enter into one of these agreements, or is it usually pushed by a county government? Is there a common way counties come into this?
It seems to be exclusively sheriffs. And as a matter of fact, I would say that sheriffs would prefer, at least in my experience, that the public not know about it. And one of the things we've been engaged in as the ACLU is shining a light when counties are signing up on it. So for most of the counties in the state of Wisconsin, it was reporting by the ACLU that first brought the public's attention to it. Although ICE does list all the agreements now on their website, and if you go to the website, you can find out when a new county has signed up.
So you mentioned the word detainer earlier. Can you explain what that means, what detainer means?
Let me explain it with an example, I think is the best way. So somebody is arrested for some kind of a minor offense, and a judge or a magistrate has said, you can be released on bond to await trial on this minor offense. And let's say you had to pay some bail, and you paid the bail, and you should be entitled, after you paid the bail, to walk out of the jail right away. A detainer is a request from ICE that says to a local law enforcement agency, if that person is about to walk out of your jail, hold them up to an extra 48 hours beyond when they should have been allowed to leave, so that we can come pick them up because we want to put them in immigration detention. And the thing to understand about these requests is they're purely voluntary. There is no obligation by a sheriff to honor those requests. And in fact, it is the position of the ACLU of Wisconsin, and we believe the right interpretation of Wisconsin law, that it is illegal for a sheriff to honor a detainer request and hold somebody who should have been able to just walk out of the jail and go back to their family. And unfortunately, the vast majority of sheriffs in the state of Wisconsin continue to honor these detainers.
So you mentioned how these detainer requests may be illegal under Wisconsin law. It seems like a kind of a big red flag. Why hasn't that garnered more attention?
To end an illegal practice, you need a plaintiff, right? And when you think about the individual people impacted, who are immigrants who are being picked up and sent out of the country, not around to bring lawsuits against sheriffs for illegally detaining them for extra time. It has been a challenge to put together a legal challenge, and up to now, we have been trying to rely on the persuasiveness of the ACLU of Wisconsin, but I would say so far we have not succeeded in persuading more than a few sheriffs to not honor detainers in the state.
Are there other states where this practice happens but seems to be illegal to their state constitution that have successfully brought, a plaintiff to court to challenge this?
Yes. So in a case called Lund versus Commonwealth in the state of Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled that local sheriffs didn't have authority to honor detainers. There's been a similar ruling in the state of Minnesota. There's actually a range of laws across the country. There are some states that have laws that require local sheriffs to honor detainers. There are other states that prohibit their local sheriffs from honoring detainers. And then there are states like Wisconsin, like Massachusetts, Minnesota, where the laws didn't give sheriffs the authority to honor detainers, but they also did not expressly say, thou shalt not honor a detainer.
The report also mentions, though, that this may change in Wisconsin, that there's a Assembly Bill 24, Senate Bill 57, that would explicitly say local counties need to honor detainers. Can you talk about that bill and kind of the political process behind it?
Yeah, there was a bill introduced by Republicans in both the Assembly and the Senate that would do just that, require sheriffs to honor detainers from ICE. I would hope that the governor would veto it if it ever made it to his desk, but it is something that there are at least votes for in Wisconsin's legislature, it appears.
So let's move into money, how money plays a role in this, and how counties and states are paid for aiding with deportation. And we'll start with the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, or SCAP. Can you explain how SCAP works?
Yeah, SCAP is a grant program run by the U.S. Department of Justice. And essentially it is there to reimburse a county jail for the costs of incarcerating an undocumented person who is serving a sentence for having committed 2 misdemeanors or 1 felony. And although ostensibly it's about reimbursing jails for their costs, the real important practical effect is it is the federal government buying information about undocumented persons from local jails. Because to get these funds, you have to know that a person is undocumented, meaning you have an incentive as a jail to investigate somebody's immigration status. And then in addition to providing, a particular name to ICE, you provide various identifying information and last known address, that kind of information to ICE as well. And the deportation machine that is part of the Trump administration today is a machine that runs on data. Compiling lists of names of undocumented persons, where they live, have they had prior contact with the criminal justice system. And the SCAP program feeds that machine.
And how prevalent is the SCAP program in Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's actually quite prevalent. There are 29 counties in the state that participate in the program. One of the largest participants was Dane County, which has now this year withdrawn from further participating in the program. Milwaukee County has never participated in the program. They have decided, not to share information with ICE. But other than that, there's 28 other counties that are participating.
I noticed that the biggest beneficiary by total dollar amount for the SCAP program is the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. So not only have 29 Wisconsin counties participated in this program since 2021, but so does the state prison system. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes. So it's not just a county jail, but also the state prisons, which if they are holding an undocumented person who's committed a felony, and everybody in the prison system is there for a felony conviction, they're able to get reimbursement of certain costs of imprisoning an undocumented person. And they've, clearly been receiving, I think it's almost $1 million a year through this program.
Where does all this money go? Does this just go to county sheriff departments' budgets and DOC's budgets? Where is this money going?
It just goes to their general budget, helps pay salaries.
It sounds like a very obvious incentive to arrest more people and question more people, get information about people you arrest, and so that you maybe get a paycheck from ICE. Am I being naive that the incentives are really that clear here? The financial incentives are clear?
It's not clear to me that local sheriffs view it as a specific way to bring people into their jails as a moneymaker, to arrest people for that purpose. And I certainly hope they are not. What it does create an incentive is to investigate the immigration status of people. Generally, somebody's immigration status is not relevant to what they are charged with. For example, if you're arrested for driving without a license, what is relevant is, do you have a driver's license or not whether or not you are a U.S. citizen or not, whether or not you have documents or not. So as a general rule, state and local law enforcement don't have any reason to investigate somebody's immigration status. It's just not relevant to what they may be charged with. This program, where you can get reimbursed if the person in your jail is undocumented, creates an incentive to do that investigation that you wouldn't otherwise do, and to then provide the information to ICE.
In addition to this SCAP program, Brown County, Sauk County, and Ozaukee County all have separate financial contracts with ICE. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, and just to start off, Ozaukee County, apparently after this was first publicized in our report, has now said that they have walked away from that contract, so we don't know the status of the contract in Ozaukee County. But for Brown and Sauk County, both of those counties have agreed to hold people on behalf of ICE. So this is actually acting as ICE's jailer. So we hear regularly about people being put into ICE detention. These counties are renting out cell space to ICE to hold people as part of the overall process of ICE immigration detention and then removal from the country. And this is brand new for these two counties. Before this, only Dodge County acted as a immigration detention center for ICE under a long-term contract that they've had for more than a decade.
So these counties, Brown and Sauk County, paid per person they incarcerate a set rate, and then also paid to transport them as well, correct?
Right. So if they need to be transported from the jail to immigration court or taken to the airport to be flown to some other immigration detention center, they get paid for that transportation. I think the important thing for people to understand is that the lack of cell space, detention space, is something that the Trump administration is bumping up against in its desire to deport as many people as possible. And they are looking everywhere they can to find additional space that they can rent or to build things like the new facility in the Everglades. And these contracts with Brown County and Sauk County are part of that attempt to get extra beds for people that they are detaining on the way to removing from the country.
We've gone through a number of formal methods of cooperation, 287G program, detainers, and financial benefit, SCAP program, that federal immigration authorities can enter into with Wisconsin counties and Wisconsin state. But are these types of formal methods of cooperation with ICE the extent of Wisconsin's cooperation with ICE? Are there kind of informal agreements that may not show up on paper but are real?
Yes, there are definitely different law enforcement agencies, different county sheriff's departments that may informally provide information to ICE about the immigration status of people who may be arriving in their jail, the immigration status of people they encounter out in the field, and so that cooperation may be as simple as a phone call or an email to ICE saying, we encountered this person. We couldn't arrest them because they hadn't done anything wrong in Wisconsin, but it seems clear to us that this person, doesn't have papers, so you might want to add them to your list. We have seen indications of those kinds of things happening. Usually, it is not like an official policy of a given county or police department, but it may be just an individual officer or sheriff's deputy who takes it upon themselves to make those contacts with ICE. And we think that's, very damaging to the relationships that local law enforcement should try to have with the immigrant communities in our state, and that it creates a level of distrust, people not willing to seek out the police for a real public safety needs when they think that local law enforcement and ICE are working hand in hand.
So to recap all of this, we have formal agreements between federal immigration authorities and county sheriff departments statewide. We have more than $7 million going to various counties and the State's Department of Corrections since 2021 for holding immigrants. We have formal per diem contracts where ICE pays counties to hold immigrants in Brown County and Sauk County. And as the report mentions, there is a bill in the Wisconsin legislature that would mandate all counties to honor detainer requests from ICE and ask anyone accused of a crime that would be a felony about their immigration status. So taking all of this together, what's being built here in Wisconsin?
The Trump administration talks about these agreements, particularly the 287G agreements, as force enhancers for the deportation machine. That is, they can't do it alone just with the resources that the federal government has, the number of ICE agents that they have. And the so-called Big Beautiful Bill includes another $10 billion to use with local law enforcement across the country to aid in the deportation machine. And more of that money is going to find its way into Wisconsin, seeking to have even greater participation by local law enforcement with immigration actions in the state of Wisconsin. And I think the one thing I would hope listeners understand is that these are all agreements being entered into at the very local level by your local sheriff, a local sheriff who has to respond for his budget and other reasons to the county board. And you've got the ability to ask the questions of the sheriff whom you elect, talk to your county representatives, because each of these agreements is getting entered into one by one, county by county. And we hope people will take the time to learn about what their local sheriff is doing when it comes to cooperating with ICE.
Tim Muth, thank you so much for joining me on Lake Effect.
Thank you.
Tim Muth is a senior staff attorney for the ACLU of Wisconsin. You can find an extended version of this conversation with Lake Effect Sam Woods at WUWM.com. This reporting is part of WUWM's focused in-depth coverage on 3 issues our community told us they care about: climate change, immigration, and the economy. You can find more coverage on immigration at WUWM.com.